Good afternoon, class, and welcome to our first lecture or the video lecture on medical surgical nursing. And the first topic, we will talk about the cardiovascular system. But before we go into that, uh, let us first have a review of our basic anatomy and physiology. So, the first thing that we have to talk about would be the basic parts and function of our cardiovascular system. Okay? Simulan natin. So let us start with the heart and the heart wall layers. So the heart is located in the left side of the mediastinum. Kaya tayo nanunumpa sa watawat dito sa ating kaliwang dibdib. But in reality, it is uh, located right here in the middle. But a certain portion of our heart is leaning towards the left, particularly the apex of the heart. Okay? Now, the heart is located in the left side of the mediastinum, and there are three layers of the heart. Now, particularly the first is the epicardium. The epicardium is the outermost layer. That is why it is called epi. And then the myocardium, which is the second layer, consists of the middle layer. Ayan. And the myocardium from the word myo means it is the muscle. It contains the muscle of the heart. This myocardium is responsible for the movement or the twisting movement of the heart. And then the last layer or the innermost layer of the heart would be the endocardium. And this is very important because the endocardium lines the inner chambers and the heart valves. Ayan. So, unfortunately, you cannot really separate the endocardium and the myocardium because it is only 2 to 3 cells thick. So, pag tatanggalin ninyo, if you will try to uh, remove the endocardium, what will happen is it is inevitable that a certain amount of myocardium will be removed as well. Okay, now, our heart is protected by this sac known as the pericardial sac. So, ang puso natin parang nababalutan ng plastic. Oh, so this plastic, o parang plastic lang naman, is known as the pericardial sac. So what it do is it encases the heart, and by doing so, it protects the heart from, for example, trauma or and infection. Meaning, pinoprotektahan niya ang puso kung halimbawang merong penetrating object na tutusok dun sa heart. Okay? Now, this pericardial sac is also has two layers. The first layer is known as the parietal pericardium. Kaya pag sinabing parietal, this is the tough, the fibrous, the outer membrane. Pag sinabing parietal, this is the wall. Okay? This wall serves as the demarcation line from what is inside to what is outside. So sana malinaw 'yun. Okay? So it attaches anteriorly to the lower half of the sternum. So nakadikit siya doon. Okay. And then the second would be the visceral pericardium. The visceral pericardium is very thin. Siya yung nasa loob ng pericardial sac at sila yung nagkikiskisan. Si visceral pericardium and the epicardium. Now, between dun sa sac, sa pericardial sac, and then sa epicardium ng heart, meron siyang space na kung tawagin ay the pericardial space. So, it normally holds 5 to 20 ml. O, very important, lumalabas sa board exam yan. How many pericardial fluid is normally dislodged in the pericardial space? So, the correct answer would be 5 to 20 ml. So, that is normal. What's the function of this pericardial fluid? This is very important. Why? Because it lubricates the heart. Okay? It facilitates smooth expansion of the heart, and it cushions the heart kung halimbawang merong trauma na halimbawa biglang may sumuntok o may tumusok do sa bandang puso, it protects the heart. Okay? So that would be your heart layers, and in a passing the pericardial sac. Next would be the four chambers of the heart. To alam na alam niyo na to. Alam ko ano niyo na to eh. Perfect niyo na. Okay? So re-reviewin lang natin. So the first is from the upper or the interior and the posterior vena cava, the oxygen depleted heart or the deoxygenated blood will converge and enter the heart through the right atrium. So the function of the right atrium is it receives the oxygenated blood from the body. Kapag sinabing sa interior vena cava, all the deoxygenated blood coming from the neck up, so to the head, and from the posterior vena cava, from the system, galing sa buong katawan, pabalik sa puso. Magsasama yon, papasok sa right atrium. Okay? Now, from the right atrium, pupunta siya sa pangalawang chamber of the heart known as the right ventricle. So the right ventricle receives blood from the right atrium and pump it into the lungs via the pulmonary artery. So, ito 'yon. Lagi rin lumalabas sa board exam. Pagtanong, what or give an example of an artery that carries deoxygenated or unoxygenated blood. So the answer would be yan, the pulmonary artery. So from the pulmonary artery, pupunta na siya sa lungs, and then what will happen is gas exchange from the carbon dioxide. It will be changed into or lalagyan siya ng ibang compound or na oxygen. So yung oxygen, pagbalik nun through the pulmonary veins, ayan naman, papasok na siya sa pangatlong chamber of the heart known as the left atrium. So the function of the left atrium is it receives oxygenated blood from the lungs via the four pulmonary veins. So apat yun. So lahat yung apat na yon may hawak or daladalang oxygenated blood. So ang tanong natin, ano ang kaibahan ng oxygenated and deoxygenated blood when it comes to visual inspection? So makikita natin kapag tiningnan natin tong kamao natin, meron dito ang part na mapula, meron din part na kulay blue or green. So doon pa lang makikita natin na kapag green or blue, deoxygenated blood yun. And kapag bright red, yung vessel, that would carry an oxygenated blood because of the presence of hemoglobin. Ayan. So, the question, lumalabas sa exam lagi, baka lumabas din sa exam ko. Okay? What substance or what particular part of the blood is responsible for the reddish coloration of the blood? O, ayan na. The answer is hemoglobin. Okay. And then the last is the fourth heart chamber would be the left ventricle. The left ventricle is the largest and the most muscular chamber. Okay. So kung titingnan natin, siya yung may pinakamakapal. It receives the oxygenated blood from the uh, lungs via the left atrium and pumps blood, ayan, into the systemic circulation via the aorta. So, siya yung pinaka-hardworking. So, makikita natin times 3 ang kapal ng muscle sa left ventricle compared dito sa left atrium. Why? The answer is this. This is the rationale. You don't need so much power in the contraction because sa left atrium, pag nag-pump siya, pupunta lang naman siya sa lungs. Medyo malapit. Pero pag nag-pump ang left ventricle, napakadami at ang layo ng pupuntahan. So it needs so much power in its pumping motion. Kaya through the years and through evolution, kaya kumapal ang left ventricle. At dito, kadalasan din, 'di ba nga meron tayong principle ng wear and tear. Kung ano yung kadalasan na yung ginagamit, yun na din yung unang bumibigay. Okay? So yun, since the left ventricle exerts so much effort from the day you were born until the last time of your breath, from the time of your death, talagang forceful ang kanyang pulsation, no? Kaya kadalasan doon din unang bumibigay, nagkakaroon ng myocardial infarction.